Welcome to Seattle and the Kingdom, where tonight the Seattle Mariners will wrap up a lengthy homestand and they will meet the Kansas City Royals. Losing 7 straight to begin the homestand, the Mariners were dazed. Down 5 early last night, Jay Buhner stepped up and brought the M's back. The big unit shut the door, striking out 8 in 4 innings of relief, reminding us of past dominance. The Mariners have come back before, spinning their magic last year, and it appears they'll have to do it again. In the American League's Western Division, Seattle, with this bad homestand, has fallen 6 games behind the Texas Rangers. The Mariners are now 4.5 behind the Chicago White Sox in the American League wild card race, so things could be better here in Seattle. With Dave Campbell, I'm Dwayne Statz, and welcome to the Kingdom. Well, the bad news is the homestand has been horrific for the Mariners. The good news is they came from behind last year, 13.5 back to move into the postseason. They got 4 good innings from Randy Johnson last night, and Edgar Martinez is back.
Dwayne, you know, they had the magic last year, and they probably think they're going to have the magic again, but you can't always count on coming behind. I thought last night was a big win. They're getting ready to go out on a long road trip. But Edgar Martinez back is huge. He got a big hit last night to put the Mariners ahead. You mentioned they came from 5 runs down. They were 9-12 when he missed the 21 games with a stress fracture in the rib. And with Randy Johnson coming back, maybe with a start in New York on Monday, the Mariners, they've got a lot of baseball to play, but they can't afford to have another one of those 7-game slides.
Well, the Mariners are 4 games over 500 as they look toward possible postseason play. The pressure is on Seattle. There's absolutely no pressure on Bob Boone's Kansas City Royals. And we'll take a look at the Kansas City starting lineup tonight. Bob Boone has Jose Offerman leading off. He'll play first base. Tom Goodwin in center, followed by Keith Lockhart. The DH is Bob Hamlin. In right field is Johnny Damon. Craig Paquette will be at third base, followed by Mike Tucker. The catcher is Mike Sweeney. And batting ninth, playing shortstop, is David Howard.
Bob Wolcott will be on the mound for the Mariners. He had that marvelous game against Cleveland in Game 1 of the ALCS last year. Surprise starter getting the win. But he's allowed nearly 2 runners per inning this year. He is prone to giving up the long ball. So Wolcott's going to have to tune it up for the M's tonight. Seattle defense, certainly one of the better ones in the American League. Rich Amaral has played very well. Ken Griffey and Jay Buhner, 2 great arms in the outfield. Jeff Maddow, an MVP candidate at shortstop. Alex Rodriguez. Luis Sowell replacing Joey Cora, who's got a bruised knee, and in the platoon it is Brian Hunter at first with Dan Wilson. He is one of the better defensive catchers in all of baseball. He'll be behind the plate tonight. Blocks pitches, throws well, and his fielding percentage is the best in the American League.
And we are set to play baseball in the Kingdom. Jose Offerman stepping in to lead off for Kansas City against Wolcott. Offerman at first base and in the leadoff spot. And he takes the first pitch of the game inside, ball 1. Offerman is hitting .290. Recently, they've had him playing some at second base as well as first base. He has played a little bit at shortstop and in the outfield, so he's been all over for Bob Boone's Kansas City Royals. A ball and a strike to count. Just a piece of that one foul, and the count is 1-2. For the Royals, this has been termed a developmental season. The one thing they're really missing is some punch in the middle of the order. They come in 13th in the league in runs scored with 583. 2 balls, 2 strikes to count.
Gary Gaetti hit 35 homers for him a year ago. 16 leads it right now.
This one toward the line, but it's going to be foul and beyond the bullpen, bouncing up into the stands, and the count is 2-2.
89 home runs for the Royals. Minnesota started the day with 89. That was the lowest total in the major leagues. And remember, of course, they have the DH in this league and not the NL.
Kansas City last year under Bob Boone, 4 games under 500 at 70 and 74. And strike 3 is called on Offerman. So Walcott picks up a strikeout of Offerman, leading off this contest.
Well, Walcott does have good control. He's not overpowering. He's just 22 years old. He had an 80-pitch complete game this year against the Oakland A's. That's the lowest pitch game or a complete game in the major league. Now, Bob Boone is out arguing about something. I'm not sure what it is. He's talking to the home plate umpire, Dan Morris, and probably about Offerman objecting to the call.
And of course, he can get specific in regards to balls and strikes, but managers will be creative in these situations and argue something. Offerman called out on strikes to start the game. That will bring along Tom Goodwin. And the pitch is wide to Goodwin, ball 1. Goodwin, great speed. That's one thing the Royals have. Great speed and an aggressive base running game. A ball and a strike.
Goodwin 54 steals. He is second to Kenny Lofton in the American League, and Walcott just reared back and threw that pitch past him.
Two balls and a strike. Walcott from Medford, Oregon. And as you pointed out, Dave, he's just 22 years old. One thing the Mariners really like about him, there's a base hit into center field for Goodwin. He'll make the turn and hold at first as Griffey comes up with the ball. They say he has a great sense about pitching. So not only does he have pretty good talent in terms of the fastball and the upper 80s, approaching 90 sometimes with that slider and change and curve, but they think he has good pitching sense.
Yeah, they say the same thing about Jose Rosado, 21-year-old pitching for Kansas City tonight. Goodwin obviously a threat to run here. He's stolen 15 in a row.
And here's Keith Lockhart. Strike call. Lockhart, 32 years old. He is a hard-nosed player, bounced around the minor leagues looking for an opportunity. Spent 8 years in the minors and was really 30 years old before he got a chance to come to the big leagues to stay for any length of time.
Goodwin now is just wearing out the Mariners this year. He's 14 for 29, and the numbers at the plate right now are very skewed towards Keith Lockhart. He is 5 for 6 lifetime against Bob Walcott.
Goodwin over at first. And a line drive to first base, caught by Hunter, and they double up Goodwin. Lockhart lines into a double play to end the top of the first. So Goodwin single, but he's double up. And we'll head into the bottom of the first from the Kingdom with Kansas City nothing and Seattle coming in to hit.
ESPN's Wednesday Night Baseball is brought to you by Burger King, where you can get your burgers worth, and by Vila. Change the game.
Royals and the Mariners headed into the bottom of the first from the Kingdom in Seattle tonight. Mariners snapping a 7-game losing streak last night. And here is Lou Pinella's lineup for this evening's game. Rich Amaral in left. Rodriguez, the young shortstop, hitting second. Griffey, the number 3 hitter. Martinez, Buhner, and Hunter down the middle with Wilson, Manto, and Soho rounding out the Mariner lineup. Rich Amaral is in left field. He has played all over the place for the Seattle Mariners over the past couple of years. He spelled Ken Griffey Jr. in center field and now is getting some playing time at left as he takes the first pitch for a strike.
He's really done a heck of a job. Took over for Griffey when Ken missed 20 games, he's raised his average from 215 to 301 in the last 48 games. So Amaral has really been a plus for the Mariners when they've been trying to fill some gaps with the injury problems.
Well, he was 3 for 5 last night in their win, a 9-5 win over Kansas City to snap the losing streak. He drove in 3 runs, and in those games when Griffey was out, he managed to hit .311. This one is wide. A ball, 2 strikes. Jose Rosado, just 21 years old, on the mound for Kansas City. Amaral has his on-base percentage over 4. It's .405 to start play tonight. Down to Howard at short. His throw to Offerman is in time.
Batting second, shortstop number 3, Alex Rodriguez.
Take a look at the defense playing behind Rosado tonight. Michael Tucker, Tom Goodwin. He can run him down, and Johnny Damon, an outstanding outfielder. Paquette Howard, Keith Lockhart playing second. Offerman has pretty much settled in at first base now, and Mike Sweeney, he was voted the best catching prospect in the minors earlier this year, and he has been recalled by the Royals.
And here is Alex Rodriguez. What cannot be said about Rodriguez? He's 21 years old, leading the American League in hitting at .365. Some imposing numbers. 27 homers, among the top 10 in runs batted in with 93. He scored over 100 runs already. This one bounces in. 2 balls, no strikes.
You think about this matchup right now with Rosado at 21 and Alex Rodriguez just turning 21, and they talk about the great mound presence that Rosado has, and Alex Rodriguez, his numbers speak for himself. He's a legitimate MVP candidate, and he just turned 21 in August.
And a strike called. It's 2-1, and his numbers compare to the Tiger greats of Ty Cobb and Al Kaline at an early age. And the bouncer foul. His personality, I guess, resembles Kaline's a little more than Cobb's.
I tell you, we had a chance to talk with Alex last week, and just so mild-mannered and so humble. You just hope he stays that way. He just seems to have an absolutely magnificent temperament. Yeah, as far as 20-year-old shortstops, and they judge that age by what age you were on July 1st, he surpassed all of them in Major League history at that age.
He shoots this one foul down into the Kansas City bullpen. Just foul up the right side. Just to give you an idea, this is the way he stacks up, Dave, compared to some of the greats in this game. Rodriguez now 21.
Just going to say Alex at 365, and again, they judge your baseball age by what you are on July the 1st, and he was only 20 then.
And he pops it up on the right side, foul, and Offerman is after this one. He makes the catch for the second out. 2 up, 2 down. Amaral and Rodriguez retired. And here is Ken Griffey Jr. Dave, there really could be a symbiotic relationship between Rodriguez and Griffey. There's no question that Rodriguez hitting second in front of Griffey helps Rodriguez. But now with the emergence of the 21-year-old shortstop, suddenly Griffey may be, even if it's on a subliminal level, pushed here a little more, because for the longest he was the guy in Seattle. Drives this one to deep right, and that ball is going to be off the wall. Extra bases for Griffey, who's in at second with the double, his 19th of the year.
Well, they call that fence in right field Walla Walla after the city here in the state of Washington. It's 23 feet high. Junior did not get very much of that, but he's strong enough that he was still able to get it up against the fence for a double. He just didn't quite get it out. He had the great swing, but you see the ball got in on him just a little bit. He didn't get the ball when he was extended. It was more back on him, and he hit it about halfway up the fence.
The juniors in scoring position with 2 outs in the first for Edgar Martinez. Edgar, the DH, taps it foul, strike 1.
So far, form is holding true with Jose Rosado. Left-handed batters hitting .364 against him this year. The right-handers only .198. He turns the ball over to the right-handers, gets a lot of ground balls, but hadn't developed that good enough breaking pitch to get left-handers out consistently.
Edgar 3 out of 9 since coming off the disabled list 2 days ago. A ball and a strike. 2 outs were in the first. See, Martinez third in the American League in slugging percentage. The Mariners have the highest slugging percentage in the league. Bounced in and blocked by Sweeney.
Nice job by Sweeney. Rosado's had trouble with the changeup so far. He hadn't been able to control that pitch. Watch the technique by Sweeney. He gets down, lets the ball just come to him, and plays it off the chest protector. Dan Wilson of the Mariners is one of the very best at that. You put Charles Johnson in that group with the Florida Marlins. He may be the best I've seen.
Edgar with a ground ball to short. And Howard's throw to first is in time to retire the Mariners. Seattle puts up a threat. They leave Griffey at second base. On to the second. We have no score from the Kingdom.
Welcome back, everybody. We continue to follow the Reds and the Padres. It's 1-1 in the 11th. We have 2 out. Trevor Hoffman has got Lenny Harris in a dicey situation. He's out, and it's now 1-1 in the top of the 12th. We'll keep you posted. Wayne, back to you.
All right, thanks, Bill. And in that National League West, the Dodgers a game and a half back of San Diego with that Dodger loss earlier. Bob Hamlin, the big DH, leading off the second inning for Kansas City.
Well, the Rockies had that 5-game winning streak on the road snapped, and then they had to run up against John Smoltz, the major league leader in wins, Al Leiter, the major league leader in lowest batting average, and tonight Kevin Brown, the major league leader in ERA. They got 2 runs in 3 games.
Hamlin, a towering drive back into right. Buhner will watch it sail out. Buhner, just in case it hit the top of that wall, was setting up to play the carom. And that towering drive on a 2-0 pitch goes out as Hamlin gives Kansas City a 1-0 lead.
Now, Hamlin, a little bit like Junior, although Hamlin got extended, he hit it very high, but he hit it closer to the line, and that allowed that ball to get out as opposed to Junior's ball going up against the fence. Boy, Hamlin got extended, but he hit that a mile high.
Now Johnny Damon takes the pitch off the plate. Ball 1. That's the 7th home run for Hamlin. Boy, after his great rookie year, the Royals were hopeful of the consistent power, but have not received that from Hamlin. Fly ball to right, and Buhner's there to take care of this one. Johnny Damon's the first out in the second inning for Kansas City. So the home run, the 90th of the year for Kansas City, and the Royals have a 1-0 lead. Here's Craig Paquette, who leads this team in home runs. He has 16. He was released by Oakland and then started the season at Omaha. The pitch is a ball.
Well, Paquette's a guy that's always had good power. A lot of holes in the swing, a lot of strikeouts, but getting a chance to get some at-bats for the Royals.
The count is 1-1. He came to the Royals at the end of April up from Omaha after he was signed following his release by Oakland. But Greg Luzinski and Bob Boone had seen Paquette in the Oakland system and thought he was certainly worthwhile signing, and they're happy they did. A ball, 2 strikes.
Now, Walcott, you see, has started to spot the breaking ball better. Those last 2 breaking balls good. He's going to have to do that. He's been getting the fastball up.
The count is 2-2. Walcott has now given up 23 home runs. That's more than anybody else on the Seattle staff. There's a drive down the left field line. If that's fair, that's gone. And it is a fair ball. Paquette has hit his 17th home run. 2 solo shots for the Royals, and they lead 2-0.
Threw him 2 good breaking balls and then hung one, and Dan Wilson out to talk to his pitcher. Bob Walcott is 5th in the American League in home runs per 9, and he isn't helping his average right now. Sean Bosky of the Angels has given up the most, but Walcott averages 1.5 per 9, and that breaking ball didn't do anything. Just kind of spun. I don't know if it was a change, and if it was a slider, it did absolutely nothing.
First pitch to Tucker is in there for a strike. Michael Tucker hitting .247, and he has some power with 10 home runs. 1 ball and 1 strike, now 25 years old. On the corner for a strike, and the count is 1 ball, 2 strikes. Paquette hit one out down the line. Foul, out of play. Well, the count remains a ball and 2 strikes.
Now we get that 20 out of you, yeah. 470, well, yeah.
Tucker's out on strikes. That's 2 gone. Second strikeout for Walcott.
One thing about Walcott, he keeps coming back firing strikes. He has not walked many this year, especially in his last 15 games. So he will throw strikes. And solo homers generally don't beat you unless the opposition pitcher has a heck of a night, especially with this Mariners offense.
Now Mike Sweeney with a home run and 10 runs batted in. That home run came Monday, a 3-run shot off Jamie Moyer. And the first pitch is in there for a strike. That was the first of his big league career, and stopped an 0 for 17 ground. This one foul, a check swing, and he almost got Howard. David Howard in the on-deck circle was looking the other way, and that foul ball off the bat of Sweeney gave him a quick wake-up call.
David Howard looks like he just saw a ghost. Greg Lazinski kind of chuckles at him and says, got to go back up there.
Sweeney, a check and a foul ball. Just a piece of that one to stay alive. You look up and down this lineup. Sweeney's only 23. Tucker before him 25. Damon 22. Even Offerman, who came over from the Dodgers and has played a number of spots this year in the leadoff spots, only 27. Sweeney takes it for a ball, 1-2.
Kansas City comes in with the 3rd best ERA in the league. But there's a guy, Bob Hamlin, who has not provided the kind of sock they thought they were going to get after his Rookie of the Year in 1994. The Royals have great team speed, pretty good defense, but you've got to have some people that hit doubles and home runs to stay up with some of these top offensive teams in the American League.
Hamlin and Paquette have hit the home runs in this inning. 2 outs for the 1 ball, 2 strike count. And a base hit lined into center field. Griffey makes the pickup on 1 hop.
Walcott appears to be one of those guys, and when he makes a mistake, the opposition hits it hard. I mean, he's made some good pitches tonight, but every time he gets a ball up in the middle of the zone, the Royals are not missing it. Look at that slider right up and over the plate. So it's really location for Bob Walcott because he's not overpowering enough to get away with any kind of mistakes.
Now the 9th place hitter is the shortstop David Howard. And he takes one too high, ball 1. Howard's hitting .231. A switch hitter for Bob Boone. 249 from the left side. Walcott is behind him 2-0, and Wilson is on his way to the mound, and there's some action in the bullpen. Rafael Carmona, the right-hander, starts to throw for Seattle down the left field line.
Well, Lou Piniella had to play his trump card last night to get out of that 7-game losing streak, and that trump card was Randy Johnson. He might have liked to stave Randy for one more night with this Kansas City lineup loaded with left-handed batters tonight. Last night, it was left-hander Terry Mulholland who started. So Bob Boone didn't have to do a lot of switching, but he would have loved to be able to save Randy for tonight with a right-hander starting and knowing Boone would throw all those lefties in. But chances are very good the big unit, after going 4 strong innings last night, won't be available this evening.
He had 8 strikeouts in that game last night, faced 15 hitters, gave up a walk and 1 hit. And it was interesting to hear Lou Piniella. There's a lot of speculation that Johnson might go into the rotation soon, and Piniella will not commit to that yet. He said, well, I'm not really sure. He said, you know, it's so late that I don't know if we'll ever get a complete game from him again. But that's what he's done since coming off the disabled list. 9 innings, no runs, 6 hits. But the Royals were certainly impressed last night with the way Johnson threw the ball. And a strike to David Howard from Bob Walcott.
Again, when Walcott's made the quality pitches like that one, the sinker tailing down, he's all right, but he just hadn't been able to consistently do it. He makes 1 bad pitch per hitter, and the Royals are hitting it hard.
That's too high. 3 balls and a strike. Walcott last year was 3-2 with the Mariners and made that start in the ALCS against the Indians. A surprise starter in game 1 and came away with a 3-2 victory. Howard fouls away the 3-1 pitch, and it's all the way out.
Pretty good little subtle move there by Lou Piniella. With 2 outs and the count going 3-1, he figures David Howard's going to have a better chance of pulling the ball. He doesn't figure Sweeney's going to run, so he had Brian Hunter play behind the runner to get a little more range. Now Hunter will even play back further with 3-2 and 2 outs.
And the pitch. He got him on strikes to retire the side. But Kansas City came up with 2 home runs as Hamlin and Paquette provide the firepower. Bottom of inning 2 coming from the Kingdome. 2-0 Kansas City. Bob Walcott touched for a couple of home runs in the top of the inning, giving Kansas City a 2-0 lead as we go into the Mariner half of the frame. NFL preseason coverage continues on ESPN tomorrow night at 8. Tim Brown and the Raiders travel to Atlanta. They'll take on the Falcons. Falcons acquired Cornelius Bennett in an effort to beef up their defense. That's tomorrow at 8 on ESPN. The Mariners left Ken Griffey Jr. at second base in the first inning, and Jay Buhner, with 106 runs batted in, leads off the bottom of the second. Buhner, Hunter, and Wilson against the left-hander Rosado. The pitch is a ball. Down and in. 1 ball, no strikes.
106 RBIs in 110 games for Jay Buhner.
He fouls this one back. 1 ball, 1 strike. They have Rodriguez, Griffey, Martinez, and Buhner all in the lineup tonight. Because of the injuries off and on this year, that has not happened with the frequency that Lou Piniella would like.
Had trouble finding a third base replacement for Russell Davis. Jeff Manto is getting called tonight. They've tried Andy Sheets there, but not getting much production out of that spot. With Joey Cora down, Luis Solo is playing. Cora's got a bruised knee.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Buhner rolls it to Howard, and the Kansas City shortstop makes the play.
You know, the right-handed batters have hit ground ball after ground ball. David Howard has been very busy. Again, Griffey's the only guy that's had a real good swing against Rosado. He got the changeup over that time, and Buhner couldn't do much with it.
This is only the third pro year for Rosado, who's just 21 years old. He was born in Jersey City, New Jersey, but went to Puerto Rico as a child and grew up there. His pitch is upstairs to Hunter. Brian Hunter at first base. Rosado, last year a 10-game winner in the minor leagues. 2-0.
Well, with Kevin Appier signed now, and he's pitching very well. Tim Belcher has pitched great for Kansas City this year. Rosado looks like he's a comer.
Into right center field. Damon will have to play it on one hop. Hunter drops one in. Has himself a base hit. That's not the hardest ball he'll ever hit, but he'll take the base hit.
Well, we mentioned Rosado, and then they have Jim Pitsley, a #1 draft choice, coming off arm surgery, and he's getting close. Left-hander named Glenn Rush, and then Mark Gubicza. So they look like they're well fortified in the starting pitching department. Looking ahead to 1997, they've got some speed, but they've got to go out and get a couple of boppers.
Yeah, they have so much pitching there that if you talk with Bob Boone about what he would like and give him that bopper in the middle of the order, which is the obvious need for this club. Here's Dan Wilson now. The pitch is too low, ball one. He said beyond that big bat in the middle of the lineup, what would you like? And he talks about, well, I'd like to have another bat, #2. The third priority would it be another bat still.
They might be able to go into the trade market, too. A lot of their outfielders are pretty similar. Damon and Goodwin can really run, but they haven't exhibited hardly any power yet.
Wilson rolls it to the left side. Paquette to Lockhart, and the ball goes into right. Hunter's on his way to third. Well, I'm sure Rosado was thinking a double play ball, even though it was hit softly with the catcher running. He was thinking about two, but the ball wound up in right, and Kansas City got nothing out of that. The Mariners have men at first and third.
Taylor made double play. Paquette just didn't even come close to Lockhart. It's a pretty routine play, but he threw this ball way inside. Lockhart had no chance for it, and Hunter goes around to third. So see if the Mariners can take advantage of the Kansas City mistake.
The 9th error of the year charged to Paquette. First and third, one out for Jeff Manto. Manto, the 31-year-old third baseman. The pitch is upstairs to him. Manto's hitting .221 overall, but just .184 with the Mariners with one run batted in.
Royals lead the major leagues in lineups used, and sometimes that, I mean, you never know. I mean, it might have been just a bad throw by Paquette, but maybe Paquette thought Lockhart really liked the ball to the inside part of the base, and Lockhart was kind of locked in at second base. So when you play that many lineups and guys aren't always used to playing with the same guys, I think personally it was probably just a bad throw, but Keith Lockhart kind of was locked in at second where he really couldn't move very well on that throw. And again, Paquette might have thought he was going to take the ball to the inside part of the bag, but whatever it was bad for Kansas City.
And it gives Seattle a chance here in this 2-0 ball game. Kansas City leading. Manto rolls it to short. Howard to Lockhart, one and over to first, so they come back with a double play on the ground ball to short. And the error does not hurt. We're headed to the third from Seattle. 2-0 Kansas City.
Well, Craig Paquette sitting behind there, the happiest man in the world now that Jose Rosado overcame the air and threw another double play ball. He's got the Mariner hitters hitting it very softly on the ground, particularly the right-handed hitters. David Howard to Lockhart to Offerman, and the Mariner threat goes down the drain.
And the top of the order, Jose Offerman leads off for the Royals. Offerman, Goodwin, and Lockhart. A ground ball sharply hit, but Hunter is there at first and makes the play. So Offerman, who was called out on strikes on a disputed 2-2 pitch his first time up, jumped on the first pitch, hit it hard, but right at Hunter.
Now, right now, the Mariners are not hitting the ball hard, and Kansas City is hitting it right on the button. The only two Mariner hits, Junior certainly did not get all of a ball that he hit off the fence and right, and Hunter's bloop single. But just about everybody walking up there that hasn't struck out against Walcott's hit it very hard.
Tom Goodwin. 1 ball, no strikes. He has murdered Seattle pitching, and it takes Hunter to come up with a fine play to retire him this time. Another sharply hit ball, and Hunter comes up with it for the 2nd out.
Now, Brian Hunter, one of those rarities that bats right-handed and throws left-handed, and if he had the glove on the other hand, he doesn't come up with this ball. Brian Hunter comes up with 2 sparkling plays here to keep Offerman and Goodwin off base.
2 outs with the bases empty for Keith Lockhart. And a ground ball by the mound. This will take a dandy play, and Soho's throw is not in time. Soho came up with the ball and still managed to get away a pretty good throw, but Lockhart has a base hit.
Well, Luis kind of smirking and smiling. I don't know, there's something. He hurt something when he threw it, but he also, you could tell it wasn't all that bad. Nice play. Good speed by Lockhart. Beats it out.
Lockhart is now 6 out of 8 lifetime against Walcott.
And he lined into a double play in this game.
Here's Hamlin, who hit the towering home run his first time up. 1 ball, no strikes.
Well, they got the shift on the hammer. The third baseman Jeff Manos playing shortstop position, with Rodriguez playing on the second base side.
And that's a strike as Walcott picked up the outside edge. 1 ball, 1 strike. We're in the 3rd, 2-0, with Kansas City leading Seattle. Hamlin fell to just 168 last year, dividing time between Kansas City, and they finally sent him to Omaha. 2 balls and a strike, and that on the heels of his great rookie year. Wound up hitting .294 at Omaha last year. Two and two.
Finally got the changeup in a good spot that time, down. Started at about knee high, and when Hamlin went for it, it disappeared on him.
2 sharply hit balls for outs by Offerman and Goodwin. Lockhart reached on the infield hit. And a drive into right field. That ball's going to be in there. 1 hop and to the fence. On his way to third to Lockhart. Hamlin will stop at first base. So Kansas City sets up men at 1st and 3rd, and we'll go to the studio and Bill.
Okay, Dwayne, Angels Indians top of the 2nd. Tony Pena will double in 2. Jeremy Burnitz, who earlier had a 2-run double of his own. Jose Vizcaino comes in. 4 runs for the Indians in the 2nd. They're now up 4-0 elsewhere. Reds and Pods tied at 1, now in the 13th. Dwayne, back to you.
All right, thanks, Bill. And here in Seattle, Kansas City already leading 2-0, putting up a 2-out threat with men at 1st and 3rd for Johnny Damon.
Well, the Mariners certainly in 16 of their 19 years in existence, they've finished below 500. Last year they had a terrific year, won the division, but Kansas City has won the season series against the Mariners 9 straight years, and they're tied this year.
And a base hit the other way. Lockhart will score. Hamlin will stop at 2nd. So Damon on the first pitch drives in his 45th run and makes it 3-0.
I think Sweet Lou has seen enough. Walcott is not fooling any of the Kansas City hitters. And we're going to have Rafael Carmona coming on.
So Walcott is out after 2 2/3, with his club trailing 3-0. Back in a moment.
ESPN's Wednesday Night Baseball is brought to you by Michelin X1, because so much is riding on your tires. And by Glidden, the company that makes the world a colorful place.
Back in Seattle, where the Mariners are forced to make an early pitching change. Bob Walcott is out of there after 2 2/3 in favor of Rafael Carmona. Carmona, Dave, has been busy recently. He's been in 6 of the last 9 Mariner games.
Yeah, excellent ERA at home, 1.85. He's 7-6 on the road, but the good news for the Mariners, he's home tonight.
He inherits 2 base runners, and the first pitch to Craig Paquette is a strike on the swing and a miss.
This is really a situation where Lou wishes he had a left-handed long man, because again, 5 left-handed batters and 2 switch hitters in the lineup tonight for Kansas City. But the left-handers, Randy Johnson pitched 4 innings last night, and this would not be a Norm Charlton situation, even though he's out of the closer role.
And a bouncer down to third. Manto takes it to second, out there for the 4th, and that retires the side. Kansas City comes up with 1. The Mariners are coming in ahead in the bottom of the 3rd with Rodriguez due to bat 3rd. 3-0 Kansas City.
Welcome back, everybody. It is over in Cincinnati. San Diego and the Reds. Bottom 13, Sean Bergman. The pitcher, Thomas Howard. Base hit. Brett Boone is your winning run. Here comes Brett Boone. He's rounding 3rd, and Brett Boone is in there. As the Reds win at 2-1, Pods remain 1 game ahead of the L.A. Dodgers, who also lost. Dwayne, back to you.
Okay, Bill. So the Reds will move into 3rd in the Central Division, a half game ahead of Chicago and 4.5 back of the Astros, who have a half game lead on the Cardinals. Luis Sojo, the second baseman, batting 9th, leads off for Lou Pinella's Seattle Mariners. And the pitch is a ball inside. Jose Rosado on the mound for Kansas City. Sojo starts tonight hitting .213.
Well, a year ago, Sojo was part of that resurgence of the Mariners. He had that big hit against Mark Langston with the bases loaded, looked to left and hit one right over the first base bag, and that was the hit that really destroyed the Angels in that 1-game playoff. But I think Luis knew that the job was going to be Alex Rodriguez's this year.
Sojo drives it toward right center, but it's slicing back toward Damon, who makes the catch for the out.
That's the way the Mariners are going to have to hit Rosado. Every time they've tried to pull him tonight, they've hit a weak ground ball to 3rd or short. They've got to think right field against Jose Rosado, because he's made him look rather foolish with his assortment of off-speed pitches down and away in the zone.
Rosado has a complete game. That was a shutout over Boston. 3 wins and 2 losses coming into play, with an earned run average of 2.80. Rich Amaral, the leadoff hitter. And the breaking ball drops in for a strike. Amaral grounded to short his first time. It's a 3-0 ball game. The Royals have out-hit the Mariners 7-2. Amaral bounces this one to short, and Howard, a low throw as Offerman cannot dig it out. So Amaral reaches. Howard handcuffed on the play, came up with the ball but made the low throw.
Kansas City gets hooked with their second error. David Howard kind of got the rhythm thrown off as he had to take a step back, and Offerman couldn't help him out. So the Mariners are being given extra life by the Kansas City infielders, but so far they haven't taken advantage of it. Jose had that one back in the palm of his hand instead of getting it out towards the end.
Here's Alex Rodriguez. He fouled out to Offerman his first time. And way out in front, Rosado picks up a strike on Rodriguez. Pretty good matchup of the 20-year-old pitcher and hitter right there with the off-speed stuff.
Rosado's just got that very fluid motion. He'll surprise you once in a while with a fastball, but he's getting the Mariners out on a lot of sinking fastballs and changeups.
Into the dirt, blocked by Sweeney. Sweeney scrambles after it to make sure it stays in front. Rosado's coming off a win over California. He worked 5 innings his last time out on the 9th and beat the Angels 5-3. Struck out 7, gave up 3 hits, no runs in the 5 innings. Rodriguez ground ball second base. Lockhart to Howard out there and no return throw to first base. So Rodriguez reaches on a fielder's choice.
Pretty tough to get to anytime the second baseman has to go to his left, and a good slide by Amaral coming in, but with Alex's speed they weren't going to turn two. Anytime the second baseman has to go that way and he's backpedaling on the throw, that makes it tougher, but a good slide by Amaral makes sure that Howard's not going to get the throw off.
So we have 2 outs with a man at first, and King Griffey Jr. about to step in. Griffey doubled off the right field wall his first time. And a big swing for strike one. Griffey actually has hit left-handed pitching for a point better than he has right-handed pitching for his career. And as you point out, Dave, Rosado's had a lot better success against right-handed hitters so far.
Yeah, Junior, he might need to hit one to get the Mariners back in this game. Right now, it's been all Kansas City to this point.
Rosado has the jump on him, 0-2.
Dr. Tim Belcher, pitcher with the Royals, before the game, I said, tell me about Rosado. He says he has mound presence way beyond his 21 years.
The breaking ball is outside and low. A ball, 2 strikes.
Sometimes you go away and away on Junior, and then you try to sneak the gas by him inside. But if you do that, you better get it way in, because if you leave it inner half, you're going to be getting it. Your neck's going to get sore watching where the ball goes.
Rosado started the year at the AA level. Made a couple starts for Wichita in the Texas League. Was 2-0. And then went to Omaha, 6-2 in 10 starts there at the AAA level. Rosado has picked off 4 runners this year, and that was a major problem for him in the minor leagues. The opposition ran on him pretty much at will. He strikes out Ken Griffey Jr., and that retires the side. The Mariners leave a man. We have completed 3 from the Kingdome. The Royals 3, the Mariners nothing. Royals lead 3-0 as we move into the 4th inning in Seattle tonight. On the ESPN Sunday night game of the week, it will be Tim Salmon leading the Angels with 25 home runs as they travel to Fenway Park to face Big Mo Vaughn, 3rd in the league with 105 runs batted in, and the Boston Red Sox. That'll be Tim Salmon and Mo Vaughn toe-to-toe on the ESPN Sunday night game of the week. Leading off the 4th, Michael Tucker hits one on 1 hop to the wall and right. He's on his way to second, and Buhner's throw is offline. A double for Tucker to open the 4th.
Well, the way the Royals are swinging the bats tonight, they're doing an impersonation of the Mariners. The Mariners come in 1st overall in offense in the American League. Royals are 13th or 14th in virtually every hitting category, but with Walcott being ineffective and Carmona getting one in the middle of the plate, the Royals have been hitting rockets all over the Kingdome tonight. Buhner has a great arm, but Tucker has good speed.
3 runs, 7 hits off Walcott. That's the first hit given up by Carmona, who got the force play on the ground ball from Paquette to end the 3rd and left 2 men stranded. Now Tucker's in scoring position for Mike Sweeney. Sweeney shortens, misses, and a snap throw back to second base. Tucker is back in with Rodriguez taking the peg from Wilson.
I'll tell you, the Mariners genuinely have at least 5 of the best young players in baseball on their team, and Dan Wilson is slowly becoming one of the most recognized catchers. That ball got down to second base in a hurry.
Carmona with a strike to count to Sweeney. And a looper into short right. Buhner coming on, and he makes the catch. Buhner got a little bit of a late start and managed to make the catch to retire Sweeney as Tucker holds at second.
Well, Jay's always had the great arm, but he also has been improving every year as an outfielder. He doesn't have big-time foot speed, but he got a great jump on that ball and came on. And the way Rosado is pitching tonight, I think Buhner and the Mariners know they can't give up many more here. Buhner coming, got a great jump, gets the ball, concentrates into the glove, and comes up firing just in case Tucker decided he might want to go to third.
Now here's David Howard.
Tim Foley, the third base coach, looked like he was between a rock and a hard place.
Howard rolls it, backhanded stop by Soho. Out at first and over to third goes Tucker.
Now again, the way Rosado is making the Mariner hitters look bad at this point, every run becomes magnified. Yeah, the Mariners have a great offense. They lead the major leagues in runs scored, but when you have a pitcher that you're not having very good hacks against, 3 is plenty. 4 is going to be a bigger obstacle to overcome. So I think this is a big out for Carmona here.
Top of the order, Jose Offerman. Offerman has struck out and grounded out. And the pitch is a strike. We're in the fourth. Kansas City with 8 hits and 3 runs.
Rosado already has 1 complete game shutout this year against the Red Sox. Also had another game against the Yankees. He went 7 2/3 and shut him out. So he's the real deal.
Down and in. 1 ball and 1 strike. And Kansas City 3-2 on this road trip following the Seattle win last night. Royals have still won 5 of 8. Started the series in California, then here in Seattle. They'll move on to Texas following an off day tomorrow. 2 balls and a strike.
Rangers playing good ball. They've won 5 in a row. They are leading the Tigers 5-4 in the top of the 8th at Arlington tonight.
And starting play, they had opened a 6-game lead on Seattle.
But just when it looked like things were on the upswing for the Mariners, in 1 week's time, it changed in a hurry. That 7-game losing streak, coupled with Texas winning 5 in a row, and now all of a sudden the Mariners are in a dogfight again.
Upstairs. Well, a week ago, they had closed within a game and a half. They were on the verge of getting Martinez back. Randy Johnson came off the DL. They had added Mulholland and Moyer to try to solidify their rotation. Things were looking good. But a disastrous week and a 7-game losing streak. Foul, that's going to be down the left side, out of the reach of anyone, and the count will go to 3-2. And after that bad week, just picking up their first win last night on this homestand, they had fallen just 4 games over 500 and 6 games back of the Texas Rangers.
Well, they've struggled with Kansas City this year, and they've definitely struggled with the Detroit Tigers. They've had a lot of problems in Detroit, especially since 1991. 7-27 there.
Offerman gets it by the mound, charged by Soho. Barehanded play, and they get him at first. Close play at first base. Offerman is out. Soho barehanded it. We're headed into the bottom of the 4th. 3-0 Kansas City. With Dave Campbell, Dwayne Stats from the Kingdome in Seattle tonight. We were terribly saddened to hear of the passing of our colleague Tom Mees, who was a pioneer at ESPN. Tom passing on today, survived by his wife and 2 daughters, and our thoughts and prayers are with them in this tragic passing of Tom Mees. Meanwhile, Edgar Martinez opens the bottom of the 4th inning, facing the left-hander Rosado, and he takes the pitch for a ball.
I had a chance to work with Tom during the 1990 NLCS, and a wonderful man, and he is going to be missed. He had 2 passions in life, and one was his family, and the other was ESPN and sports. life is very fragile.
1 ball, 1 strike. Martinez will be followed by Buhner and then Hunter. A chopper headed up the middle. Howard gloves it, turns and throws, and could not make the play. Ball loose at first. Great effort by David Howard, the shortstop, but Martinez has himself a base hit.
Well, you could watch Edgar. He was trying to protect those ribs, too, when he knew he was going to run into Jose Offerman. It looked like he kind of grabbed himself around the middle. And I don't know if Edgar is shaken up or not. He does have that rib problem. David Howard, really not much of a chance. He makes a great play. And Edgar Martinez, right there, he's going, whoa, stay away from me, Jose. I don't want to get an elbow in the ribs right now.
Martinez with the stress fracture in 4 of those ribs back on the 20th of July.
Well, I'm sure Edgar probably would have liked to have had about another week, but when he saw the club really struggling, I think that he knew he had to get back in the lineup, but I doubt if he's 100% yet.
Martinez on with a base hit to open the bottom of the 4th. Here's Jay Buhner. Buhner's home run last night, his 34th, came on his birthday. He's 32 years old, and the first pitch is in for a strike.
Well, every now and then, good defense, like in other sports, football, basketball, hockey, triggers an offensive surge. Buhner with a big play last inning, and also Luis Sojo with that barehanded play on Offerman, and they saved a run with a combined defensive effort.
Buhner now in the hole. Rosado continues to change speeds. There's Sojo, who made that fine play.
Yeah, and Rosado really has the Mariner hitters off balance. I mean, Warren Spahn puts it better than anybody ever heard. He said the art of hitting is timing, and the art of pitching is upsetting that timing. And Rosado definitely has the Mariners off stride.
And a little tap to the right side. Offerman will make the play unassisted after a look down at second. So Buhner is the first out, and before Brian Hunter steps in, we'll check in with Bill at the studio.
Okay, Dwayne, Angels, Indians, bottom of the 2nd. The Angels score 4 runs. Jim Edmonds here, drives in 2 of them. George Arias scores. Randy Velarde comes in, so once down 6-0. The Angels now trail 6-4 in the 3rd. Dwayne, back to you.
Well, the Indians leading the Central Division at the moment by 4.5, or 5.5, as it turns out. The White Sox were beaten. And here's Hunter. Hunter at second with 1 out. Ball 1.
Well, again, Rosado continues to mystify the Mariners. They really have not hit a ball hard in the game. Griffey did double off the fence, but if you saw the replay, the ball got in on him. You know, if Junior gets the bat head out, that ball's probably in the 3rd deck.
This one down as well. A 2-ball, no strikeout. Rosado with 1 strikeout, and that of Griffey. His only strikeout tonight ended the 3rd inning. He has not walked anybody, and really hasn't been too deep into any count on any hitter. His first big league win came over the Yankees on the 25th of July. Hunter pops it up. Who's going to get it? Nobody, as it turns out, and everybody's safe. That ball right on the mound. Rosado stood there looking at it, and Paquette came in from 3rd and actually overran the pop-up. How about that?
Well, Jose can only shake his head. The defense has not been too good. They always tell you if you're a pitcher to get out of the way, but I think in that case maybe Rosado should have run somebody off. Offerman, everybody's looking at each other, and all of a sudden Paquette doesn't get it. The ball almost hit right on the mound. Edgar Martinez could not advance. But I got it, you take it, and Rosado has pitched. He's overcome 2 teammates' mistakes before. Can he do it a 3rd time?
The error charged to Paquette. The 3rd Kansas City error as we play here in the bottom of the 4th. And here's Dan Wilson. Wilson reached on a fielder's choice as a result of Paquette's 2nd inning error. This one is foul right side and out of play. Offerman chases down there. Runners at first and second with one out. The Royals have 3 runs. They have 8 hits and 3 errors. The Mariners have been unable to take advantage of those mistakes. No runs on 3 hits so far for Seattle. And Wilson fouls this one out of play. He's in the hole. 2 strikes. Wilson started the night a little over 300 with 15 home runs. He had 278 last year with 9 home runs. Now the 0-2, and he strikes out. Well, Rosado picks up his second strikeout, and they have been opportune strikeouts. He got Griffey to end the third, and this is a big strikeout of Wilson.
Well, last Friday, Jose Rosado injured himself. He went in and made a catch, but that knocked him out of the game. And maybe the Royals told Rosado, let the infielders make the plays, and then he stood on the mound, wanted to hit right on the mound, and he probably was thinking of that, and I'll get out of the way and let somebody catch it, and they didn't. But again, he comes back, overcomes the defensive mistakes of his teammates, and gets a big out. Dan Wilson, he just went to fastball and blew him away.
He left with a bruised left hand and a bruised left knee when he went rolling into the dugout. That against California. Now he faces Jeff Manto. No pitch. Time had been called. Manto grounded into a double play. Boy, if you're Kansas City with this young ball club trying to build something, as the Royals have done this year, coming in to tonight's game 56-65, they have to be very pleased with what has happened tonight, with the way Rosado has responded. Comes with a fastball in there. Ball 1.
I'll tell you, this kid's showing a lot of savvy. He was throwing soft, and softer, and now all of a sudden he's tuned up the speed dial.
Manto uncorks one deep to center. Goodwin back on the track with room to make the catch, and Seattle fails to score, leaving 2 through 4. 3-0 Kansas City. Kansas City out to a 3-0 lead through the front 4. Rafael Carmona in relief of Bob Wolcott. Tom Goodwin leads off the 5th inning for the Royals. He tries to bunt down that first base side, and it's going to roll foul. Strike 1. Boy, that's something they'd like to see him do a lot more of. There's Rosado. He got out of the bottom of the 4th inning, again getting around the error.
He was hoping that was going to stay in the yard, and it did. And Bob Boone's going to have a little chat with him about that pop-up, saying that's not your fault. I know. Somebody's got to catch that for you. It's always the betwixt and between. It wasn't a real high pop. Sometimes pitchers just clear everybody out, but generally when they do that, they get trampled by one of their infielders and get stepped on. No walks, 3 basically scratch hits. Although I guess Griffey, you can't call it a scratch hit if it hits off the wall.
Might have scratched the wall. Fly ball center. It's going to fall in between Griffey and Amaral in left center field. So Goodwin has himself a base hit after attempting to bunt his way on. Goodwin drops one into left center field as his 2nd hit tonight. And that's 9 hits for the Royals. So Goodwin is aboard, as he was in the 1st inning with those 54 stolen bases. Now Wilson has caught him twice this year. There's Keith Lockhart stepping in. Lockhart's base hit, an infield hit, after he hit the ball on a line and into a double play in the 1st.
Kansas City with 9 hits, and Brian Hunter with 3 good plays to take away 3 more potential hits.
Goodwin back in at first. He just had the toe of that right foot on the AstroTurf around the cutout.
Well, only one man in Royals history has stolen more bases in a season. Willie Wilson. He did it 4 times. Wilson's all-time top mark was 83.
Back to first again. And Goodwin is aboard with that leadoff single in the 5th. I saw him attempt to drag bunt, and that's one of the things they have been working with him on. He's so fast anyway, and on the drag bunt they actually clocked him at just under 3.3. Pitch out. He's going, and the throw is not in time. A stolen base. So he steals his 16th consecutive base, his 55th of the year. He steals it on the pitch out.
Wilson guessed right. Kind of had to struggle with the ball. It wasn't a perfect pitch out by a stretch of the imagination, and then the throw was high. Well, it was a good pitch out. Wilson just threw the ball high, and by the time Alex got the tag down, too late, dropped the ball anyway.
The 154th steal for Kansas City. Wide to Lockhart. 2 balls and no strikes. And even though the Royals lack power, they try to make up for some of it with their speed. They run out everything and always run right through the base. Two and 0 the count. Lockhart pops it back of third. Manto and Rodriguez after it, and they cannot catch up.
Well, Tom Goodwin has blazing speed, but he also accelerates very quickly. He's going full speed in about 3 steps.
Now he's in scoring position with nobody out in the 5th as the Royals attempt to add to their lead. Away. Taken out there by Lockhart to run the count to 3 balls and a strike.
Royals had a lead double last inning and didn't score. Lockhart, though, he's got to try to pull the ball. 2-0. He hit a weak pop to left. He's got to get the bat head out front and pull the ball on the right side to get Goodwin at least as far as third.
The 3-1. And he pulls it into right field, line to Buhner. And holding at second is Goodwin. Buhner, with that great arm, came in charging to make the catch, and Goodwin could not advance.
Well, Lockhart did his job. He pulled the ball and hit it hard. You can't guide it, so get an attaboy for at least doing your job, but Goodwin could not advance.
He's going to bring up the big designated hitter, Bob Hamlin. Hamlin has a couple hits tonight, including his 7th home run of the year. He is 2 for 2, and that continues pretty much what he's done this year. He's hit a lot better on the road than at home. He's hit under 200 at Kauffman Stadium this year and over 290 on the road. He takes the pitch wide, ball 1.
Going to be awfully tough for Tom Goodwin to get a good jump. Alex Rodriguez, the shortstop, with the shift on, is playing right behind him. So he's not going to be able to take much of a daring lead there.
And the pitch is in there for a strike to make it 1-1.
Obviously, with a man on second, all of a sudden Manto, the third baseman, now has to stay close to the bag in case Goodwin does take off. Otherwise, Manto would be playing way over in the normal shortstop spot. But he's got to be able to get to the bag in case Goodwin tries to steal it.
1-1 the count. 2 balls and a strike, and it would be interesting, Dave, should Hamlin happen to hit a slow roller on the left side of the infield with that great speed of Goodwin, to see what he might try to do if Manto tried to make a play at first on Hamlin.
Yeah, I mean, Goodwin's an electric runner. I mean, he's got the brilliant speed, and he's got that daring do about him that all great runners have.
Pickoff back at second base. Rodriguez just a couple of steps on the bag. And Goodwin is back in.
Some guys that have great speed, and then there's guys that have great speed that really like to show it off. Good one. Kenny Lofton, a couple of guys that love to show the speed off.
The 2-1 is down for ball 3. 3 balls and a strike. Walcott charged with 3 runs in 2 2/3. 7 of the 9 hits off the Mariners starter. He left in favor of Rafael Carmona.
I don't think Carmona can challenge here. He's still got an open base and can afford to try to make a pitch here.
Hamlin, 3-1, and a strike as Carmona picked up the edge.
Yeah, he didn't throw him a fastball in at all. He went backdoor with him, and he has gone full on Bob Hamlin.
Lou Piniella saw his team drop the first 7 games on this homestand before winning last night 9-5. And Hamlin is out reaching. Carmona stayed away from him and got him to reach for that one for the second out. Let's go back to Bill Pito.
All right, Dwayne, Rangers and the Tigers in the 3rd inning of this one. Juan Gonzalez for Texas, his 34th home run on the year. Deep shot over the wall. Left center. Mike Henneman came on in the 9th, retired the side. Tony Clark went down. That was it. 25th save for Henneman. Rangers win 5-4. They now lead Seattle by 6.5 games, Dwayne.
All right, Bill, the Rangers continue to roll while the Mariners trying to get on track at home. They're trailing here as the Royals bat in the top of the 5th with a 3-run lead. 1 strike to count on Johnny Damon. Damon's single homer run in the 3rd. Takes the fastball upstairs.
I think also a situation now that you got Hamlin, Damon with Paquette on deck. I mean, Paquette has 17 home runs, but he can really be pitched to where Damon sprays the ball around the diamond. I think if Carmona gets behind, he doesn't have to give in again here.
1 ball and 2 strikes. And they say about Damon, Tim Foley, who's the 3rd base coach, said he's watched him all year. He says he still doesn't know how to pitch him or how you would defense him. He says he'll break a couple bats. He'll look bad, and then he'll come right back and hit a 100-mile-per-hour fastball on a line, wait for the breaking ball, hit it. He pops this one up on the left side. Rodriguez making the call, and he's got it to retire the side. Carmona pitches around the leadoff single and the steal. Bottom of the 5th coming with Alex Rodriguez due to bat 3rd. 3-0 Kansas City. Kansas City leading the Mariners 3-0. Seattle coming into bat in the bottom of the 5th inning with Luis Sojo due to lead off. He'll be followed by Rich Amaral and then Alex Rodriguez. Sojo at second base tonight, lined out his first time against Jose Rosado, who has pitched around 3 Kansas City errors. The Royals lefty has struck out 2, walking nobody, and has given up 3 hits. And here's Sojo. Average at 212 right now. The first pitch to him is in there for a strike. Sojo playing second base with Joey Cora out. Cora with a tender knee, and he's more or less day-to-day at the moment. So Sojo penciled in by Lou Piniella at second base. And Rosado is out in front. 2 strikes, and that's been pretty much the story tonight. Rosado has been stingy with his pitches and ahead of a lot of hitters. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The Royals and the Mariners have divided 8 games in their season series, 4-4. Kansas City won last year 7-5 in the season series. Ground ball short. And the throw to first in time as David Howard makes the play to get Soho.
Had a chance to visit an old friend tonight before the game, Bill Tuttle, former Major League outfielder, who along with Joe Garagiola are heading up NSTEP, which is a national spit tobacco education program, and Major League Baseball working in conjunction with them. Guys like Frank Thomas and Jeff Bagwell, Hank Aaron, Garagiola have done spots, and Bill, obviously ravaged by cancer because of the tobacco, has become a crusader, but it was great to share old times with him today. We were teammates way back in 1965.
There's Rich Amaral, ball one. Well, you are well preserved, you know that.
Yes. Well, I was just a kid, and Bill was kind of at the end of the career. I think if I can remember that far back.
Amaral fouls this one out of play. 1 ball and 1 strike. Nice to have you with us tonight from the Kingdome, where the Royals lead the Mariners 3-0. 2 runs in the second and another run in the third. The first 2 runs came on solo homers from Bob Hamlin and Craig Paquette. Amaral now behind in the count with that foul ball as the count advances to 1 ball and 2 strikes. One out, base is empty. The 1-2, a roller to short. Howard will handle this one. Off the bag, Offerman makes the tag for out number 2. 2 gone, and that's going to bring up Alex Rodriguez.
Had a chance to visit with Alex, certainly a legitimate Triple Crown candidate, MVP candidate, about how he handles the success at an early age.
Now, I always keep my feet on the ground because, you know, in this game, the game is so much bigger than any one player. And bigger than Ken Griffey Jr., Cal Ripken, anybody. And I'm just very proud to be playing this game. I'm very fortunate. And at the same time, I'm very thankful because I've had an older brother and an older sister. And that's helped me mature and learn from them, right and wrong.
Well, he's doing a lot of things right here. As a 21-year-old shortstop for the Mariners. He came in leading the league in hitting. He's now at .363. With the 0 for 2 tonight. 1 strike to count. 0-2.
Should have said the Triple Crown for shortstops. He leads all Major League shortstops in home runs, RBIs, and batting average. But he may be a Triple Crown candidate down the road. I don't think he's going to catch up with McGuire and some of the big boys in home runs this year.
He became the youngest all-star shortstop ever. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Through their first 168 games, you look at Junior's numbers and the numbers put up by Alex Rodriguez. Just a piece of this one. So the count is still 1 ball and 2 strikes, and there's Junior on deck.
Well, we came to praise the big bats of the Mariners tonight, but it's becoming more and more apparent that Jose Rosado is stealing the show. The youngster has overcome 3 defensive mistakes by his teammates. And he's had the Mariner hitters off stride all night long.
And a fly ball hit toward right center. Goodwin cutting across and uses his speed to make the catch. And that retires the side. 1, 2, 3 go the Mariners. We are through 5 with the Royals leading Seattle 3-0.
Brady Anderson, Dallas Duty was on the line.
ESPN's Wednesday Night Baseball is brought to you by the Athlete's Foot. Nobody knows the Athlete's Foot like the Athlete's Foot. And by Coors Light. Look for the new Coors Light wide mouth can. Now tap the Rockies with a smoother pour.
From Seattle tonight, we're through 5 innings inside the Kingdome. 3-0. The Royals lead the Mariners. Bob Walcott started against Kansas City. Rafael Carmona took over 2 outs into the third as the Royals built this 3-0 lead. Their second run came on Craig Paquette's 17th home run of the year, and he leads off the 6th. with a little liner out to second, grabbed by Soho. Luis Soho went back to make a fine play.
Well, that's one of those cases where playing on AstroTurf was definitely an advantage for the defense because you play deeper on the turf. Soho was playing out behind that imaginary line, gets back out there. Or if you're playing on a dirt infield, sometimes because the field's a little slower, you have to play a little closer. Ball was spinning crazily, and Luis was able to grab it anyway.
Soho, who made a nice play in the 4th inning on the ball hit by Offerman, handles this one here in the 6th. There's Michael Tucker taking one outside for a ball. Tucker's double came in the 4th inning. So he is 1 for 2. Hit over 300 in his time last year at Omaha, and then 260 with Kansas City. There's a strike. When Tucker first signed and when he was scouted, they thought he was a natural-born hitter. They loved the way he showed flashes of power in his approach at the plate. Foul ball down the right side, 1-2. One of the things that Bob Boone has been faced with this year with this young club and a club looking for power is to try to make sure the young hitters don't try to do more than that which they are capable. A ball, 2 strikes. 2-2. They have on a couple fronts some challenges. One, just trying to stay in the major leagues and establish a career. Number 2, being on a club that needs some added punch. And Bob Boone's done a pretty good job of keeping that all in perspective. Tucker strikes out. Second time he has been out on strikes tonight.
The catcher, Mike Sweeney.
Carmona changing speeds well. Appears to be a changeup or a splitter, and ball disappears on Michael Tucker. Now, Bob Boone, a stickler for fundamentals. He played under Gene Mauch for a number of years. Came up through the Philly organization. They practice and preach the fundamentals, so Bob knows this game.
There's Mike Sweeney, the young catcher. There's the strike. Sweeney trying to establish himself. 23 has Mike McFarland on this ball club to help him along, and of course Bob Boone, the only man to win more Gold Gloves catching than Bob Boone would be Johnny Bench. A 1-strike count on Sweeney. Bounce it down to third. Manto with the long throw. It's on the money, and that will take care of Kansas City. 1-2-3 in the 6th. Mariners coming in to hit with Griffey, Martinez, and Buhner do 3-0 Kansas City.
Welcome back, everybody. We have the Angels and the Indians. Bottom of the 3rd, California again. This time it's Randy Velarde driving in 2. First, Gary DiSarcina, and then Fabregas. Well, he turns on the gas, and here he comes, and he's in there. Once down 6-zip. Angels now lead 8-6.
So the Angels giving the Indians fits, and it will be the Angels and the Red Sox on ESPN Sunday night game of the week. Jim Salmon and Mo Vaughn square off on the ESPN Sunday night game of the week at 8 p.m. Eastern. While King Griffey Jr. will open the bottom of the 6th for the Mariners. The Mariners have lost 7 of their last 8, broke a 7-game losing streak last night with a 9-5 win, but they are down 3-0 and have been stopped by Jose Rosado, the 21-year-old lefty. First pitch is a strike to Ken Griffey Jr.
The Mariners lose this game tonight. Despite all those years of losing, this would be their worst homestand in the franchise history.
Just a piece of that one off the end of the bat foul. Sweeney trying to grab it as quickly as he could, hoping that it would be fair. Get a chance to retire Griffey, but it was foul, and the count is no balls, 2 strikes. Jay Buhner due to hit 3rd in the inning. So it's the heart of the order for Seattle against Rosado. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Rosado doing a heck of a job against a team that had scored 731 runs, leading the league coming into play tonight. That's one area where they have struggled during this homestand. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Kansas City won the first game 10-4. Seattle last night 9-5. Rosado 2-2 to Griffey. Full count. Well, that has not happened often. As a matter of fact, this is the first full count Rosado's had on a hitter tonight. And Griffey taps it foul.
Well, his last at bat, Rosado got him with the big hook.
Now he's 3-2. He's fouled away a pitch. Here it comes again. Fouled once more. The hits. Griffey doubled off the wall with 2 outs in the first inning. Hunter got a base hit, dropped one into right center field in the second. And the other hit, Edgar Martinez led off the fourth with what turned out to be an infield hit. And now Griffey lines one into right center. Goodwin's over to cut it off, and Griffey will stop at first with a leadoff single. And for the second time tonight, the Mariners have the leadoff man aboard. Griffey opening the 6th with a base hit.
Well, Junior smoked this ball. Rosado tried the curveball again, and Junior stayed with it and hit it very hard to right center field.
Now Edgar Martinez steps in. Martinez 1 out of 2. Fastball is in for a strike. Kansas City leading 3-0. But this is a Mariner club that has hit 179 home runs this year. Ground ball, shortstop. Howard to Lockhart, 1, first base 2. So the double play ball. Well, Rosado got a double play out of Manto to pitch around a hit and an error in the second inning, and gets the double play ball out of Edgar Martinez in the 6th.
Well, Edgar's such a smart hitter. He's been watching what Rosado's been doing all night and basically staying away from the right-handed hitters. So what does Edgar do? He plays a percentage, looks away, and 2 pitches in a row, Rosado buries the ball inside. This is a youngster that has a great feel on the mound, and he's pitching a gem tonight.
2 outs with the bases empty. Rosado just 21 years old. Now Jay Buhner. Buhner's grounded out twice, once to short and the other time to first. Rosado breaks out in front, strike 1. Mariners lost 3 to the Indians, then 3 to Minnesota, and the first game of the series to Kansas City. 1-1. So they've dropped 7 of 8. Drops the breaking ball over for strike 2 call. It's 1-2.
You know, Dwayne, every time a young left-hander comes along with this kind of poise and the ability to change speeds, people start drawing the comparisons to Tom Glapp. But this youngster, he may be the real deal. You got to wait a while, but he has been impressive.
And he strikes out Buhner. So the leadoff single doesn't hurt Kansas City. And through 6, the Royals lead the Mariners. It's Kansas City 3 and Seattle nothing. Back at the Kingdom in Seattle with Dave Campbell, Dwayne Stats, and thanks to Jose Rosado, the Seattle Mariner problems continue tonight.
He's changed speed so beautifully, and he's had a lot of grit when his teammates haven't played behind him. And don't think that infielders and outfielders don't appreciate, because they're going to make mistakes. But sometimes they have to pick up a pitcher with the offense. But sometimes a pitcher's got to pick up his defense when they make mistakes. And Rosado's been able to do that 3 times tonight. So he has been impressive.
Rosado went through the middle of that Mariner batting order in the 6th after giving up the leadoff single to Griffey. He got the double play ball out of Martinez and then struck out Buhner. So we're headed into the 7th. And David Howard, the shortstop, will lead off for Kansas City against Rafael Carmona in relief of Bob Wolcott. Howard lifts the first pitch back into deep center field, and Griffey is there in line with the 380 marker. Boy, Howard, who has hit 4 home runs this year, doesn't have a lot of power, but he got a lot of carry on that one, and Ken Griffey Jr. had to stay with it to haul it in.
Mariners have been extremely special on defense tonight. Brian Hunter with 3 good plays, Buhner with 2, Luis Sojo with 1, and Junior now with an excellent catch as he gets near the fence. So they have played much better defensively than Kansas City has tonight, but it's just been too much Jose Rosado, and Junior knew he was going to take a shot on that wall. You could see him grimace before he even hit it.
Now the top of the batting order, Jose Offerman, and he takes a strike. 1 out in the 7th. Offerman is hitless, retired in the 4th inning on a good play by Luis Sojo. Offerman started the night at 290. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I think we'd also be remiss if we didn't mention the good job that Rafael Carmona's done. He came in, Walcott had already given up 3. He came in, got a final out in the 3rd inning, and then he's held the Royals at bay since.
The pitch is upstairs. 2-1. Carmona inherited a couple of runners and left him on in that 3rd. Given up just 2 hits. Ground ball by the mound, and that's going to go through into center field. So Offerman has a single. It comes with 1 out in the 7th inning. And Seattle has the lefty Norm Charlton throwing in the bullpen.
Well, out comes Lou Piniella. I don't know how long Norm's been throwing, but with an off day tomorrow, and they're still trying to get Charlton on track. And Lou knows he needs Charlton to be on track and be able to fit back into that closer role. So Piniella will go to Charlton right here.
Well, they have Goodwin due up. The Mariners make a pitching change, down 3-0 here in the 7th, and we'll be back in a moment. Rafael Carmona, a nice job in relief of Bob Wolcott. He leaves with 1 on and 1 out in the 7th in favor of lefty Norm Charlton, brought on to face the left-handed bat of Tom Goodwin.
See, Norm's overall numbers in July had an ERA of 9. August has been worse, around 15. He's really struggling to try to find out. At one time, he actually thought he was tipping his pitches off somehow.
And the first pitch is outside, ball 1.
Talked to him a little bit before the game tonight, and he said, "What do you think?" And I said, I don't think you're throwing your splitter and your slider enough for strikes early in the count, so they don't really have to worry about that pitch. And he says, "I think you're right."
Down and in, and he is behind Goodwin, 2-0. And Charlton came in against the Indians last Wednesday and saw the lead evaporate. Runner at first is Offerman, and he was unable to get any kind of breaking stuff over in the 9th inning of that game when the Indians pulled it out. 3 balls and no strikes to count.
One thing it does look like Norm has done, it doesn't look like he's rearing back quite as far as he looks like he's just trying to throw strikes now and get in a good groove, but so far not much success.
There goes the runner on the 3-0 pitch, and it's high for ball 4. So Offerman took off as Goodwin walks on 4 pitches. That's the first walk we have seen tonight. Carmona 3 2/3 3 hits so far, no runs. He's responsible for a man as he leaves. A couple strikeouts and no walks.
So far, no changes by Bob Boone as the left-hander's in. He probably figures that I got the lead. I'm going to keep my better defensive team on, and Charlton's the last lefty I'll see tonight.
Keith Lockhart. Wilson blocks this one. Ball 1. So that's 5 straight pitches out of the strike zone from Norm Charlton. Randy Johnson worked 4 innings last night.
When you get behind major league hitters, you make guys 350 hitters out of 250 hitters when you get behind in the count.
And there's a strike. There's 1-1. Lockhart reached in the 3rd on a base hit, an infield hit, and scored. Lined into a double play in the 1st inning and lined out to right in the 5th. 2 men on now with 1 out.
Good idea. It looked like Offerman was taking a pretty good lead as Bobby Ayala starts to get up in the Mariner bullpen.
Blocked again by Wilson. And the count is 2 balls and a strike.
Again, the breaking pitch he really hasn't been close with. If he can start that breaking ball in the strike zone and make it look like a strike, he'll get guys to chase because it's got such great late action. But when you start it out of the strike zone, not too many guys are going to bite at it.
Pickoff play at second. It's Rodriguez breaking to the bag, and Offerman is back in. Offerman singled. He's at second. Goodwin drew the walk, and he's aboard at first base. Lockhart fouls the pitch. Out of play, and the count squares at 2-2.
Yeah, Keith was really tuned up for the fastball. He saw that Charlton was struggling with the breaking ball, and he was even out in front of a fastball. If Charlton's right, hitters aren't going to be out in front of that fastball like that.
And it has been all Kansas City tonight, with 3 runs in the pitching of Jose Rosado. This one bounces away, and the runners will advance as the count goes to 3-2 on Lockhart. So Offerman goes to 3rd, and Goodwin moves up to second base. Both men now in scoring position. Wilson able to block a number of pitches, but not this one.
And that one, he just boxed up. I don't know if he got crossed or he just didn't handle it. Dan Wilson, you don't see him box up very many. It was just a fastball wide that Wilson didn't make a very good grab on.
Full count. And Lockhart is out on strikes. Charlton needed that and picks up the 2nd out of the inning.
And look, he went to the off-speed pitch, it looked like. And he did. He got the splitter, and it started in the strike zone and disappeared. And when Charlton can do that, he becomes unhittable again. But it's been few and far in between for those type of pitches.
Now here's Bob Hamlin, the designated hitter. And the first pitch is a little outside, ball 1. Hamlin with a homer and a base hit in 3 trips. The home run came in the 2nd, his 7th of the year. In for a strike, and it's 1-1.
Wayne, the Royals had a man at second with nobody out in the 4th and didn't score. They had a man at second and nobody out in the 5th and didn't score. And they had runners at second and 3rd with 1 out here in the 7th and haven't scored yet.
2 balls, 1 strike to count.
You would figure the way Rosado's pitching, maybe they wouldn't need it. But I know Bob Boone's sitting over there going, hey, if we let too many opportunities get away against an offensive team like the Mariners, we could be in trouble later on in this game.
The 2-1. Blocked by Wilson. 3 balls and a strike. Royals lead 3-0. Charlton facing another left-handed hitter in Hamlin. But he's behind him 3 balls and a strike. Hamlin is choked up on the bat a little bit. And he draws the walk. So the bases are loaded. They're loaded with 2 men out. Johnny Damon, another left-handed bat, due for Kansas City.
Now, Norm's only throwing 1 great breaking pitch. He picked a good time to do it, 3-2 to Lockhart, but he is still scuffling with that pitch. He's got to throw it early in the count for strikes. Then there's no way they can sit on fastball against him. And when he gets ahead, then he can throw that breaking ball that starts at the knees and disappears. But when you're pitching behind all the time, hitters are going to start sitting dead red on you looking fastball as Mike Jackson joins Bobby Ayala.
And here's Johnny Damon. Damon hitting .285 for the year. This one is low and outside, down around .214 against left-handed pitchers. His base hit came in the 3rd when he drove home a run. And he takes ball 2. So Charlton behind every hitter he's faced and behind Damon 2-0. Damon takes the first strike. 2-1. Bases loaded, 2 outs in the 7th. 4 out of 7 with the bases loaded for the year, including a grand slam and a line drive caught by Rodriguez at shortstop. Kansas City loads the bases, and the Royals leave them that way. We're headed into the bottom of the 7th inning in the Kingdome. 3-0 Royals.
ESPN's Wednesday Night Baseball is brought to you by the latest Nike footwear and apparel at Champ Sports. Champ Sports, get the real stuff first. And by Aquafresh Whitening, safe to use every day for dazzling whiter teeth.
The Seattle Mariners have been shut out on 4 hits tonight through the front 6 innings and trail 3-0. Jose Rosado has been pretty much in complete charge tonight as he faces Hunter, Wilson, and Manto due in the Mariners 7th.
You know, the Royals do not have a 300 hitter in their lineup. The Mariners have 6 of them, but Rosado has neutralized that with some outstanding pitching, and with the Texas win tonight, the Mariners need a comeback.
First pitch to Hunter. Upstairs, ball 1. Hunter takes a strike. Hunter has been on twice, once on an error. First time up, he had a base hit. He hit that pop-up to the mound that fell for an error and was charged to the 3rd baseman, Paquette. Paquette came in from 3rd and overran the ball. He's been charged with 2 errors tonight, but he did hit his 17th home run of the year. That came in the 2nd. 2-1. Fastball for a strike. Squares the count.
Spotted the fastball in and out tonight. Excellent changeup, able to throw the breaking ball for strikes anytime he wants to.
And a line drive, base hit into left center field. That's going to roll to the wall. Extra bases for Hunter. He will pull in at second with the double. They left the 2-2 pitch up, and Hunter has his 10th double of the year.
Griffey hit a curveball for a solid hit last inning, and Hunter gets one here. So Rosado starting to elevate the breaking ball. That one was a hanger.
So a leadoff double for Hunter. Dan Wilson's going to be the hitter, and there's some stirring going on in the Kansas City bullpen. That's the first time that's happened tonight. Richardo, the right-hander. Markham, the left-hander. And here's Wilson, line drive, headed toward the corner. That's a fair ball. That will score Hunter. Wilson on his way to second, and will get 2 out of that. So the Mariners are on the board on back-to-back doubles by Hunter and Wilson.
Rosado certainly wasn't making any mistakes through the first 6 innings, but all of a sudden here gets a curveball up, gets a fastball up, and the Mariners are mounting a comeback. That might have been a changeup. It was certainly up, and Wilson spanked it into the corner.
The doubles opening the bottom of the 7th against Rosado. Jeff Manto's going to be the hitter as Hunter scored on the double by Wilson to make it a 2-run game. Now it's 3-1. Manto's grounded into a double play and then hit the ball deep to center to the track in the 4th inning. Caught by Goodwin out there. And he takes a rip and fouls it back. Strike 1. There's the righty and the lefty in the Kansas City bullpen. Jason Hockamy, the left-hander. And Hipólito Pichardo, the right-hander. Manto fouls this one out of play. 2 strikes.
Well, I'm sure Bob Boone going through his mind right now the wasted opportunities in the 4th, 5th, and 7th innings. Man on second twice with nobody out, couldn't score. 3rd, 2nd, 1 out in the 7th and couldn't score. They didn't get much luck. Johnny Damon hit the ball very hard against Charlton, but right at Rodriguez to end the inning.
Now the 2-strike pitch. Up. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Rosado didn't have a full count on a hitter until the 6th when he went 3-2 with Griffey, who singled, but then he got the double play ball out of Martinez. No walks tonight. Manto pops it up. That's going to carry out a play, a foul ball. Manto playing 3rd base. He's driven in 1 run since coming to Seattle.
Jeff has been around. He's been with the Cleveland organization, Phillies, Red Sox, Orioles, played in Japan earlier this year and got released.
And a pop-up. Rosado gets Manto in from 3rd. Paquette gloves this one for the 1st out.
And Jeff Manto had some pretty good swings in that at bat, but Rosado was able to retire him without advancing Wilson.
And Luis Sojo will be the hitter. Sojo is nothing out of 2. He lined out to right his first time, grounded to short his last time. Facing Rosado, who's pitching here in the 7th inning. Rosado with 1 complete game. That was the shutout over Boston. And Sojo out in front, chasing a pitch for strike 1. This is the 3rd start made by Rosado since that 3-hit shutout over Boston, a 7-0 win. He made 117 pitches in that game, and that's his high pitch total for the year. He also threw 112 pitches at Chicago in a no decision against the White Sox. Just off the plate, Sojo takes it for ball 1. 1-1. Rosado a couple of mistakes, leaving 2 pitches up to Hunter and Wilson. They jumped on him and doubled. Manto popped out. Sojo drives it foul up the right side, out of play. Taking the count to a ball and 2 strikes. Rosado just 21, facing the veteran Luis Sojo. 7-game losing streak last night. Ground ball headed to short. David Howard makes the throw on the money for out number 2, and Wilson remains at second. So after the leadoff doubles by Hunter and Wilson, Rosado's retired the next 2 men, and now he'll face the top of the batting order, Rich Amaral. Amaral hitless tonight, officially 0 for 3.
Now, both clubs haven't done a very good job of advancing men from second base with nobody out. Kansas City had 2 chances, and Dan Wilson advanced the man all the way home, but Wilson was there with nobody out. He's still there now with 2.
Amaral takes it down. Ball 1. The only walks we've had tonight in this game were given up by Charlton. He walked Goodwin and Hamlin. Neither Walcott nor Carmona walked anybody. Rosado with 3 strikeouts and no walks, and there's a roller to short. Howard will make the play, and the Mariners settle for just 1 run after the 2 doubles to open the inning. We are through 7. On to the 8th with the score. The Royals 3 and the Mariners 1.
Welcome back for the Ream Who's Hot, Who's Not. We ask you to focus. Currently, the Royals are near the bottom in scoring in the league at 4.8 runs a game, but as you see, they've been a whole lot better in August. Meanwhile, Seattle is first in the league in scoring at 6.2 runs a game, but in August, the Mariners' offense has struggled, and Dwayne, that trend continues tonight.
It does indeed, as they have been stopped by Jose Rosado, the 21-year-old lefty, held to just a run on 6 hits through 7 innings. Rosado has yet to hit the 100-pitch mark in this game, and he leads 3-1.
Because there might be a silver lining as we look at Mike Jackson for the Mariners as they get ready to go out on a 10-game road trip to New York, Boston, and Baltimore. They lead Major League Baseball in scoring on the road. They average over 7 runs a game on the road. The hitting-friendly Kingdom, they average about a run and a half less.
And they have struggled on this homestand to score. Paquette takes a strike as he faces Jackson. And it's in the hole, 0-2. So 2/3 of an inning for Charlton. He struck out 1, walked 2, and didn't give up a run. Now Jackson here in the 8th.
Well, again, Bob Boone stayed with all of his left-handed hitters in the 7th because he figured Charlton wasn't going to go much more than 1 inning, and all they had left were right-handed.
And Jackson makes quick work of the third baseman Paquette. That's the first out on 3 pitches. Coming up Monday on ESPN2, it will be the Little League World Series. Celebrate the 50th anniversary from Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Coverage begins Monday at 2 Eastern on ESPN2, the Little League World Series. Michael Tucker takes the pitch upstairs. Jackson, the 4th pitcher for Bobby Cuellar and Lou Piniella tonight.
Well, Jackson's job is quite simply to hold them right here. The Mariners have the big guns coming up. Rodriguez, Griffey, Edgar Martinez, Buhner in the bottom of the 8th inning.
A strike on the edge. It's 2-1. Kansas City scored 2 in the 2nd, 1 in the 3rd, and the Seattle run came in the 7th. Goes to 2-2 on Tucker. Tucker with 10 home runs to go with his .248 average. A couple strikeouts tonight, sandwiched around a double back in the 4th inning. Jackson takes a little bit too much time, and Tucker steps out. A 2-run game in the 8th.
Jackson started to go. Tucker started to step out. He stepped back in. Jackson started to stop. And finally, home plate umpire Dan Morrison said, "Whoa, let's get it together here, guys."
Now the 2-2, ball 3. Well, the Mariners have I've seen that Texas score posted, so the Rangers have won, knocking off Detroit. Seattle started 6-pack. They're now 6½. The Rangers have won 6 straight.
Looked like Lou's got his game face on.
Well, this last week has been enough to put that game face and then some on.
Well, a year ago this time, the Magic was in full bloom, but the Mariners have got to try to recapture that. This guy could go a long ways towards it. Boy, he's been special in his 3 relief appearances. 15 strikeouts, 9 innings. Junior's been on a home run tear, 12 in his last 24. Alex Rodriguez, Buhner, Edgar.
3-2 and a ground ball to first. Unassisted by Brian Hunter for out number 2.
I really feel, though, the key for the Mariners is going to be their starting pitching. You know Randy Johnson, if he stays healthy, is going to be good. But Sterling Hitchcock's going to have to step it up. They're going to have to get some help from a lot of spots. Moyer, Mulholland. So that'll be the key, I think, for Seattle.
And perhaps the key in this game, due up in the bottom of the 8th, Rodriguez, Griffey, and Martinez. Right now, a 2-run deficit for Seattle. It's 3-1.
One team you really have to give some credit to, the Texas Rangers. A lot of people trying to bury them, but boy, they've been terrific. Especially with this winning streak they're on. John Burkett gave them a lift, but they've gotten solid pitching, and Mike Henneman appears to be healthy again. He really struggled with some arm miseries in the first half. His numbers were really ugly, but lately he's gotten the job done.
Jackson facing Sweeney, who fouled away the first pitch for a strike. Sweeney singled in the second. He's 1 for 3. A big cut. Jackson throws it by him. 0-2 the count. Seattle and Kansas City have divided the first 2 games of the series. They've divided the first 8 games of their season series right down the middle. A 2-strike count on Sweeney. A piece of that one to stay alive, and the count is still 2 strikes.
Well, it appears Rosado is done because Pichardo is working right now, so that youngster had a terrific game tonight. And he can be proud of his effort. Well, they're going over the scouting report right now. Guy Hansen down in the bullpen.
A 2-strike count on his battery mate, Mike Sweeney. Upstairs. A ball and 2 strikes. The Royals have 10 hits. 7 off Walcott. All 3 runs came off the Seattle starter. He was taken out after 2 2/3. The count goes out to 2 balls and 2 strikes. Carmona worked 3 2/3. And Charlton, now Jackson. Jackson is retired for cut on strikes. Tucker on the ground ball to first. Got ahead of Sweeney 0-2 and now has a 2-ball 2-strike count. Sweeney stays alive with another foul ball, this one reaching the stands. A 2-2 count still. Mariners with a couple shots left, down by 2. Sweeney just 23 years old. And he has worked the count to 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Royals also have a pretty good catcher in Sal Fasano, who played earlier this year. He's got a bad elbow right now, so he's rehabbing that down in Omaha. But they look pretty well fortified with good young catchers for the future.
The 3-2. Strike, 3 call. 1-2-3 go the Kansas City Royals. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Jackson. Bottom of the 8th coming with Alex Rodriguez, Ken Griffey Jr. and Edgar Martinez due in a 3-1 game. Back at the King Dome tonight, 3-1 as we go into the bottom of the 8th. The Royals got home runs from Hamlin and Paquette. A great job by Jose Rosado. 7 innings, a run on 6 hits, 3 strikeouts. While Alex Rodriguez hitless in 3 trips for the Mariners, but still hitting .362 as the Mariners, who last night snapped a 7-game losing streak, have dropped 8 of 9.
Kansas City will head off to Texas to play the Rangers. They'll have an off day tomorrow and begin a series with Texas on Friday, where the Mariners go east for 10. They're off tomorrow and open a 4-game series in New York on Friday.
Ippolito Pichardo is the new pitcher, on for the 44th time. 3 and 4 with a couple saves. Earned an average of .547, taking over for Jose Rosado, who pitched so well. And the Mariners will send Alex Rodriguez to open the bottom of the 8th. Rodriguez reached on a fielder's choice in the 3rd, and the pitch is a strike. Rodriguez leading the league in hitting. Fouls it out of play. A 2-strike count. Pichardo worked Sunday in Anaheim against the Angels. Gave up 2 runs on 3 hits in an inning and 2/3. He's ahead of Rodriguez, who fouls this one away, holding the count at no balls, 2 strikes. This is the 4th appearance for Pichardo in the season series against Seattle. And a swing and a miss, or did he make contact? Nope, it just popped out of the mitt of Sweeney, who got the tag on Rodriguez for the strikeout. And that's the first out in the 8th. So that gives Rodriguez 0 for 4. That hasn't happened too often.
Hit 1 ball into right center field, but Goodwin ran it down.
Now Ken Griffey Jr. with 2 hits tonight. All of that against the left-hander Rosado. So he had 2 of the 6 hits given up by Rosado. What a job he did tonight for Kansas City. Junior takes some hard stuff upstairs. Ball 1. Pichardo coming off an 8-win season last year. 8 and 4. Everything out of the bullpen for him a year ago. He just 26 years old. He won't be 27 until next week. The count is a ball and a strike. The bullpen stays busy. This one is wide. The count goes to 2-1.
Might wonder why Hakami would be up with all the right-handed batters coming up, but Lou Pinilla's still got Paul Sorrento over on the bench, and should Piniella go to Sorrento, I'm sure Boone's going to have Hakami ready to come in and pitch to him. Sorrento only hitting .173 against left-handed pitching this year.
And a base hit right back through the middle. Junior takes the 2-1 pitch into center, picking up his 3rd hit tonight. He has 3 of the 7 hits picked up by Seattle.
Well, his hand is still not 100% healthy, but you'd never know it when he gets a ball in the sweet spot of the zone. Pichardo never got the glove up in time as he just scalded this ball. Hand doesn't hurt when he hits it solid.
So Griffey's at first with 1 out for Edgar Martinez. Bob Boone had the right-hander Montgomery up along with the lefty Hockamy in the bullpen. Martinez, a base hit through the hole. Griffey stops at second. So the Mariners, who put together a threat in the 7th inning when they scored their only run, have placed men at first and second with 1 out in the 8th, and Jay Buhner's due. The hit for Edgar, his second of the night. He's 2 for 4.
Well, the Mariners have their top RBI man, their number 2 home run hitter, coming on. Ball game could hang in the balance with this at bat right here.
Well, it was Buhner who started the comeback last night after Seattle got down 5-0. Buhner hit his 34th home run of the year on his 32nd birthday. And some impressive numbers in a dozen at-bats lifetime against Pichardo. Pichardo throws him a strike on the inside edge.
Good discipline by Buhner, though. First pitch, if you're going to hit the first pitch, it's got to be where you want it. That was a pitcher's pitch.
Buhner in the very back line of that batter's box, airs it out and misses. No balls and 2 strikes.
Well, one thing Jay has done is he's matured in his career. Once he gets behind 2 strikes, he has a tendency to go up the middle more. Doesn't worry so much about the home run. He's tried to get a base hit.
Takes this one close and up. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And the Mariners have stranded 6 men tonight. They have 2 men on with 1 out. Down. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Rosado got a couple double play balls to help him. He's out of there. Pichardo in his first inning. One out, 2-2 the count to Buhner. And he strikes him out. Buhner strikes out for the 2nd straight time. 2nd strikeout in the inning for Pichardo. So it will come down to Brian Hunter and Pichardo.
Pichardo just reached back and got some high gas by Jay Buhner. So Lou Piniella, knowing that the left-hander was warming in the pen, will stay with Brian Hunter. He'd rather have the matchup of Hunter against Pichardo than Sorrento against Hockamy.
Hunter takes it down. Hunter's been on all 3 times. A single, a double. In between, he reached on Paquette's error. The 1-0. Foul. The count is a ball and a strike.
Hunter, 48 lifetime homers. He is with the Braves, the Reds, part of his career. He's been around. He was with Atlanta back in 1991 when they went to the first World Series.
In the dirt, blocked by Sweeney, and the runners will not attempt.
Well, Sweeney's had a good night behind the plate. He's blocked several pitches in the dirt. Dan Wilson was having a good night until one got away with Charlton, but it didn't cost the Mariners. Well, he just smothers that, knows the breaking ball is going to come back towards him. Just the way when the right-hander throws a curveball or a slider, it's because of the spin hitting the dirt, it's always going to come back towards you.
There's a strike call, and it squares the count to Brian Hunter. Hipólito Pichardo working his first inning in relief of Jose Rosado. The 21-year-old lefty is still on the bench looking on. The 2-2. And Hunter is out on strikes. Pichardo picks up 3 strikeouts in the inning. A mild threat by Seattle. 2 hits and the Mariners leave. Both men aboard. This game is headed into the 9th inning with the Kansas City Royals leading the Seattle Mariners 3-1. It's a 3-1 ball game with the Royals leading. They'll come into bat in the 9th inning, and they will face a new pitcher for the Mariners, right-hander Bobby Ayala.
Well, Lou not afraid to go deep in the pen tonight with the off day tomorrow. Charlton worked 2/3 of an inning. Mike Jackson worked an inning, and now Ayala. Carmona also gave him yeoman work. Mariner bullpen has held the fort, but Kansas City pitching has just been too much for the Seattle hitters tonight to this point.
Reminder coming up following our game, Sports Center. Steve Levy and Rich Eisen will be along. They'll break out the suspensions on that Astros Expos brawl. An update from the New York Giants camp. Bailey versus Johnson. We'll see. And a look at the life of Tom Mees as a pioneer of Sports Center and his untimely passing. David Howard, the Kansas City shortstop, leads off against the Seattle right-hander. And Howard looks at a strike. Howard sent the ball to center field back to the warning track as Griffey had to challenge the wall around the 380 mark to make the catch in the 7th inning. Howard over that one. 0-2.
David Howard had 7 ground balls in 7 innings with Rosado on the mound, so he was busy defensively tonight.
Down and in to Howard. A ball and 2 strikes. Well, it's a 2-run game as we play in the 9th inning. All 3 runs charged to Bob Walcott, who started for Seattle tonight. Seattle, following this, will head east for a 10-game trip. Look out, down goes Howard. And the count goes to 2-2. And as they head to the road, they'll be joined in New York by Mark Whitten, the switch-hitting outfielder acquired from the Atlanta Braves. Carlton looking on. He was the 3rd of 5 pitchers. And Howard out on strikes as that pitch disappeared. That's the first out. Well, the Mariners have this 10-game road trip facing them, and they actually have a pretty tough way to go when you break down the rest of their schedule compared to the Rangers, whom they're chasing, and the White Sox. They're chasing the White Sox in that wild card race, Dave.
Well, that could be a blessing in disguise, because I know a lot of teams that are in contention don't like to play sub-500 teams, especially teams that don't really have any pressure on them, that aren't going to go to the postseason. I think there's been a lot of examples of that. You go back to the '93 season, the Rockies went into Los Angeles in August, knocked off the Dodgers 4 in a row, and really sunk the Dodgers as far as even thinking about chasing the Atlanta Braves and the San Francisco Giants that year. You go back to 1969, the expansion Padres, 4 in a row in September against the Dodgers to knock them out. So I think a lot of guys would rather play teams that have something on the line than teams that have a lot of young players that are just out having fun with no pressure. They can steal bases, hit and run, you know. So I don't think that that's always a measure when you look at whether you're playing tough teams or easy teams.
Bobby Ayala has made some great pitches here to the first 2 hitters, and now there's a looper, back is short, and Rodriguez goes out there to make the grab. A fine play by the 21-year-old shortstop. Offerman made a bid for a base hit, and Rodriguez grabbed it.
Well, Seattle's defense has been extremely special tonight. I mean, we talked about Luis Sojo at second. Now Rodriguez has made a play. Brian Hunter's made 3 good plays. Buhner 2 and Griffey 1. So they've made 6 very good plays while the Kansas City defense hasn't. But Kansas City's pitching has just been that much better tonight.
Ground ball to short by Goodwin. Rodriguez has that and makes the play. So a 1-2-3 inning for Kansas City. The bottom of the 9th due with Wilson, Manto, and Sojo, the scheduled hitters. 3-1 Kansas City. It's a 3-1 ball game. Kansas City leading. Seattle coming into bat in the bottom of the ninth, and they will face Jeff Montgomery, the Kansas City closer, on for the 43rd time with 22 saves, a record of 3-6.
All-time Kansas City save record holder. He just went past Dan Quisenberry. Has not had a lot of work lately.
And he will face Dan Wilson, the Seattle catcher, to open the bottom of the ninth. And the pitch is a ball inside. Wilson double home the Seattle run in the 7th inning. 2 balls, no strikes. Montgomery trying to save this game for Rosado, who pitched so well for 7 innings. And a strike makes it 2-1.
Doug Strange has moved into the on-deck circle. Panoa's got 2 switch hitters, Strange and Cora, although we don't know about Joey's availability, and the left-hander Paul Sorrento.
Wilson with a base hit the other way. A 2-1 pitch, and Wilson picks up his 2nd straight hit of the night. So the Mariners have the leadoff man on. Anytime they have a man on, the potential tying run comes to the plate. And now Manto will be lifted for Doug Strange. And there's Sorrento, who'd already moved into the on-deck circle. Soho is due to hit in that spot, but Sorrento is on deck.
Well, again, last inning, he could have hit Sorrento, but he also knows Sorrento would have had to face the left-hander Hakimi, and he figured Montgomery was going to come out in the 9th, and rightly so.
Strange swings and misses, strike 1.
Only risk you run here. Sorrento's your big power hitter, but Strange has done a good job for the Mariners over the year, but if he wraps into a double play, then all of a sudden you lose your guy. Soho has moved back on deck now in case Strange gets on deck, then Soho would bunt.
1 ball, 1 strike. There's Soho. Strange hitting .234 overall. There's Sorrento. Ready. And a foul ball. It's 1-2. Lee Ely along with Lou Piniella checking the lineup card.
Well, Lee acts as the bench coach. They talk things over, and it doesn't matter how brilliant a strategist you are as a manager, you always want to have somebody else to discuss it with, just in case they have a different idea that they want to run by you.
Ball 2, and the count is square.
So many times a manager has so many different things on his mind that bench coach can offer some good suggestions along the way. Lou's going to make the final decision, but he wants some input too.
Two balls, 2 strikes to count on the hitter. Strange is out on strike, so Montgomery comes back to pick up the first out in the bottom of the 9th.
Most closers are 2-pitch specialists. A great fastball and some kind of a breaking ball, a splitter or whatever. So Soho now goes back to the bench. You don't bunt, you bring Sorrento up. But Jeff Montgomery has always been a 4-pitch pitcher. Fastball, curve. There's the curve. Slider and changeup. Not too many closers fit into that category.
So with the strikeout of the pinch hitter Strange, we'll see another member of the Seattle bench tonight in Paul Sorrento. Sorrento carries an average of 300 to the plate with 18 home runs. And Soho is lifted. Soho nothing out of 3 tonight. Sorrento 3 of 6 lifetime against Montgomery with a home run. He has also grounded into 8 double plays this year. And the pitch is a strike.
Sorrento is the only Mariner that is homered against Montgomery.
One on, one out. Texas has one. Sorrento under this one and pops it up. Lockhart out from second base. 2 gone. So 2 outs with a man still at first.
Left fielder Rich Amaral.
Sereno hitting for Soho pops out.
Now, Rich Amaral with no home runs this year. He's got one job here. Find a way to get on and give Alex Rodriguez a shot. Behind him comes Junior, but you got to try to keep the inning alive here.
Amaral is 0 for 4. He reached on a throwing error back in the 3rd inning. Started the night hitting .301. He takes the first pitch. Montgomery throws a strike. 0-1. Amaral trying to keep it going. Bob Boone, the Kansas City manager, trying to take 2 out of 3 from the struggling Seattle club. There's a ball to Amaral. It's 1-1. Rosado for 7, Pichardo for 1. Montgomery trying to close it out. The Mariners have a man on. They've stranded 8 tonight. This one down. 2 balls and a strike.
Amaral 1 for 5 in his career against Jeff Montgomery. Alex Rodriguez on deck is 1 for 2.
Amaral is where Montgomery wants to end this thing. Line drive. It's still alive. Base hit into left. So Amaral does reach. Wilson stops at second. The line single keeps this game going for Alex Rodriguez. 2 hits in the ninth. 2 men on, 2 men out. And this crowd at the Kingdome making some noise and then some.
Dwayne, a week ago tonight, we did a game here against Cleveland, and the Mariners basically snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. They were ahead by 2 with 2 outs in the 9th inning and nobody on. Tonight, they're trying to reverse it and rally from a 2-run deficit in the 9th.
Well, here's Rodriguez. He is hitless tonight. He's hit in 16 of his last 18 at a .440 clip over that. But nothing tonight, 0 for 4. And the first pitch is in at the knees for a strike. Rodriguez came into the game at .365, leading the league. He's at .361 right now. And Montgomery got it in on him and pops him up. Howard from short makes the catch, and this game is over.
Well, Jose Rosado got his team off the hook several times when they didn't play very well defensively behind him. The Mariners had shots in both the 8th and 9th with Buhner and Alex Rodriguez, 2 of their best hitters up, but Pichardo and Montgomery got the key outs.
So the final score from the Kingdome, the Royals 3 and the Mariners 1. Rosado will get the win. Montgomery picks up the save. Sports Center is next. For Dave Campbell and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Dwayne Stan saying so long from the Kingdome. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Sports Center is coming up next.